Hello everyone, Amsoil here. In today's episode, we're out in the shop. Got a few bikes I need to service today, but unfortunately, my shop has gotten quite messy. Got a bunch of projects in here, and one is in the way of another, and another is in the way of that. So we're gonna try to clear some of this out so that I can work a little bit more comfortably. So let's take a closer look at the project. So some of you may remember, you saw me pick up Joe's bike the other day. And it's just here for a routine service. There's no mechanical problems with it necessarily. However, when I picked it up, it didn't want to start. The battery was low. It turned over, but it just didn't want to fire up. So when I got it here the other day, I went ahead and put the battery on charge overnight. And then the next morning, it showed full charge. I did a load test on it and it turned out weak. And then when I actually tried to start the motorcycle, of course, it wouldn't start it. So we've ordered a battery for that. And it arrived on Friday at the shop in town that I get my batteries from. However, I didn't have time to go get it because I was still dealing with some other things with the trucking. And now today is Sunday, so I can't go get it today. So hopefully we'll get to go get that tomorrow morning and get this bike finished up tomorrow. This one here, the yellow bike, is my BMW. This is a 1995 BMW R1100 RS. Yes, it's in pieces because I've been working on it. So brief history here real quick. I went to go ride this motorcycle probably about 2 years ago, and for some reason the battery was dead. It was actually on a trickle charger, but I think that trickle charger had failed because there's two motorcycles that I had that charger on that the batteries mysteriously just died when they shouldn't have, in my opinion. So I have taken that charger and thrown it away. And then I had to go out of town and, things just got busy. So I never ended up putting another battery in it until about a month ago. I decided to order a battery for it and pull it out of the garage and bring it over here to the shop so we can start working on it. And I charged the battery, I installed it, I go to start it, all I get is a click. Turns out the starter itself had failed. At first I thought maybe the engine was seized up. But I pulled the plugs off of it, tried it, it still just clicked. And then I pulled the starter off of it and I was able to get in there with a small pry bar, turn the flywheel over a little bit, and the engine turned over nice and smooth. I took the starter to a bench and jumped it on the bench, and the starter would not turn. It just clicked, made horrible noises. Eventually I got it to spin, but it sounded terrible when it did. So I ordered a new starter for it, got it installed, and it started turning over just fine. It fired up. I was happy. I shut the bike off and had to go in for the night and had to go do something. Actually, I think that's when we headed out to go do the rally in Myrtle Beach. So I come back after that. I go to start it again. It turns over fine, and then it won't start, and I couldn't figure out why for a few minutes. And then so we're going to diagnose that today and find out why it wouldn't fire up. It would turn over fine, but it wouldn't fire up. And the one thing I did notice is I don't have any fuel pump. On this motorcycle, you can hear the fuel pump start up, and I can't right now. So there's definitely a problem with the fuel system. Another problem I had with it, when I rolled over from the garage, it rolled really good until I hit the brake to bring it to a stop. And then after that, didn't want to roll worth a damn. So the front brake was locking up on it. Now what I had done there is I checked the fluid, and the fluid was pretty yucky from sitting for a couple of years. So I flushed all the fluid out of it, returned the calipers back to home, and then let them come back out. All the calipers were operating properly. And I thought I had a brake working pretty good. And then it started to jam up again. And through diagnosis, I realized that one of the brake hoses itself had collapsed. So I was getting pressure to go through it, but it wasn't allowing it to return to the master cylinder, causing the brakes to lock up. So I ordered a new set of brake lines for it. Patriot Braking 100% American made. I believe it's a veteran owned company, and I like to support things like that. So this is a 4-brake line kit. So on the BMW, because it does have an ABS module, you have the 1 brake line that comes from the master cylinder and goes back underneath here and becomes a hard line. That hard line runs to the ABS module and then back out, goes back into the rubber line, comes down to a distribution block that is just below this fender here. And at that point, it splits out into 2 soft lines, 1 to each caliper. So once we get the thing running, the next project will be to get the brakes done on it. And then hopefully this will be ready to put back onto the street. Well, I don't know if that's going to be all in one video or if the 2 projects will be broken up into 2 videos. I'm not sure. All right, so as we move along the shop this way, that right there is a 2007 Ninja EX250. Picked this motorcycle up for my daughter. It'll be her first true motorcycle. She's ridden some of our other bikes before. She has a motorcycle license. She just has never had her own bike. So I got a pretty good deal on this. Basically, this motorcycle right here, my son found somebody that traded us straight up for an old 4-wheeler that I had sitting around the property that, in my opinion, was not worth fixing. And they wanted it, so we traded. This bike does run. We've started to put a little bit of work into it. It looked in terrible shape when we got it. The bodywork was just awful, spray painted black. It was coated with dirt and grease and stuff. You can tell it had sat outside for a long time. But good clean title, and it does run good. It was just ugly, but we essentially got it for free. So then I was down in Florida shortly after that, and I come across another EX250 for sale. So we have this one right here, which cosmetically is in much better shape. This one does not have a title, and if you notice right there, it has a lawnmower style engine in it. So the guy I got this from, he was just trying to create more of a go-kart style motorcycle for one of his kids. It was never going to be intended for street use. And then, I don't know, one project led to another, and he never got time to finish it. So I bought this entire motorcycle for $200. And that engine has never even been started yet. There's no oil in it, nothing. It's mounted, but they've never finished the drive line or anything like that. But like I said, the plastics are in good shape. The wheels, everything else is in really good shape. So we're just going to combine the 2 motorcycles into one for her. And that way she'll have a pretty nice bike to ride. As you can see, I got a bunch of other motorcycles sitting back here, projects. Just, we'll get to them eventually. Don't know when. But we're focusing on what's in the shop here today. So here we have a 1980 something CB 1000C or CB 1100C. Now this bike is actually done. I just can't get the customer to come pick it up. It's a little bit rough. I don't think he intends on riding it. He declined a lot of the repairs on it. We did a couple things. Got it running. It runs great. It's just a little bit rough. So I'm hoping this we can just get out of here sometime soon. If not, I'm just going to move it to another building for storage. And then the last bike that's actually in the shop at the moment is this here. This is my old 1983 Harley Davidson Sportster. It's a 1000. In 83, you pretty much just had the Sportster 1000. It's one of the old iron heads. It's a cool bike, 6-inch over front end on it. It's just not a motorcycle that I'm going to ride much because it's just physically too small for me. So what I've done is given this to my son. And so we decided to start working on it. Now the bike runs great. Problem we were having with it is once it got warmed up, it would start to run terrible. We completely rebuilt the carburetor, all new parts in it. So it's good. It's got an SS Super E, I think, on it. Don't quote me on that. It's been like a year since we had the carburetor off, but it's a Super E, I think. Well, we've determined, I think it's ignition system. Once it gets hot, it just starts popping and cackling. You let it cool down, fire it up again, it runs perfect. Sitting here idling, it'll run perfect for 10 minutes. And then once it gets to a certain temperature, it just starts running terrible. If you run it down the road in that 10 minutes, it runs great. and then all of a sudden you can't hardly make enough power to get it back up the hill to get it back into the house. So took it all apart. Of course, this old point style ignition, so we decided to update it. So we're going to put an electronic ignition in it, and I think we're going to update the generator system on it too, to more of a newer style, just because it's got the really old style on it. He hasn't decided exactly what theme he wants to do with this, but right now we're just trying to get it running and riding so that he can go out and ride it and not have to take one of my motorcycles. All right, so that's it for in the shop at this point. So I think the first thing we're going to do is get that BMW taken care of so that we can get it out of here. And I can move it back over to my garage where I actually store the motorcycles, you know, in between rides, and go from there. Guys, I hope you like this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Again, we're trying to build this channel and really need your help to do it. And until the next time, keep those engines running.